Welcome back. This is another edition that I'm going to stick in the Applied Exercise Science playlist on my YouTube channel. And we started that series talking about heart rate reserve as well as fractional utilization of VO2 max. And then in the third installment, we looked at using race data to dial in more accurately these higher end breakpoints rather than using these shorter duration, full profile and submax profile style tests. Something we're going to talk a bit about these breakpoints now in a triathlon sense. So swim, bike, and run. And something I want you to remember is that, say, a heart rate of 140 beats per minute can mean something very different depending on whether we are swimming, biking, or running. And using this fractional utilization concept as well as feeling will give you an ability to manage your effort across different sports and across the different legs of your event. And I'll hit you with the sort of the headline or the punchline right away. You are going to have your fastest result by leaving headroom in your day. In other words, in simple terms, a 130 beats per minute on the swim, a 140 beats per minute on the swim, and a 150 beats per minute on the run is going to be far faster for you rather than just going 140 all day, or unfortunately more typically hitting your max heart rate in the swim, hanging on the bike, and then seeing the heart rate kind of trail off a little bit on the run, even though effort is increasing dramatically. Let's get into why that is. And I want to provide you with some techniques that you can use to assess how well you did in terms of this pacing. So when I talk about looking at your swim, benchmarking your swim, and we talk about the run tests as well as lactate testing on the bike and progressive sets, we are always stepping up. And that's going to give us benchmarks, heart rate, feeling, benchmarks that we can compare to our pace and power. Now, what I want you to do in the field, in the final third of your longest workouts, longest swims, longest bikes, and longest runs, is similar benchmarks. And I want you to do those benchmarks when you're tired as opposed to fresh on the first day of your microcycle indoors doing a progressive set where you might be testing yourself, because the field benchmarks are going to be much more realistic for comparing to race performance. I also recommend you look at the second half of your big day training, whatever it is, and whatever order you're doing it in. So if it's a traditional swim, bike, run day, have a look at split it in half and have a look at what that bike performance looks like and then what that run performance looks like when you're fatigued. I also like if you do repeating brick workouts. So bike, run, bike, run, bike, run. So 3 bricks, and you're going to stack those. The classic way to do that is an hour bike, a half-hour run, repeated 3 times. See how that changes in the final third. What does that bike, that steady bike and that steady run look like after you've done 3 hours of exercise? It's a very valuable benchmark for what we're going to be talking about. Now, we take these benchmarks and we think about the physics of multisport, the physics of the event that you're going to be racing. And today we're only going to be talking about just the medium of movement. So water on the swim, fast moving air on the bike, slow moving air when we're running. There's other complications, drafting, hills, terrain, surfaces, all that, but let's just start with the medium of movement. So that water, without the drafting, when you're doing just the 5x400s workout, or even open water 5x1000 if you're an Ironman athlete, and you're trying to descend the workout and go a little bit quicker each rep, something you're going to find is on the 4th and 5th reps after the first half of the workout, most of your effort, you're having to work way harder for that effort, and you're not going that much faster. So most of the effort, either you started too fast and you're fatigued, or most of that effort is when we become less efficient, it's going into the water rather than generating velocity. Something to think about. Same deal with the bike. What feels easy at the beginning to hold that velocity after a couple hours of riding, and if you're an Ironman athlete, after 4 hours of riding, it's going to feel very different. and you want to get benchmarks in terms of what's deliverable relative to your total duration of your event. Because as I like to say, a marathon provides ample opportunity to make up for any mistake you might have made by going a little too easy. It's a long way to run. Same deal with a half marathon. If you're going to be out there, 5, 6.5 hours, that half marathon provides a lot of opportunity to make up time that you might have given away by being prudent early in the day. And the run is the most linear of the sports. And what I mean by that is increase your heart rate by 10% if you're well fed and your durability is good, and you're going to get close to a 10% increase in velocity. So the effort goes into speed. The other thing, the mental component of going fast late in the day. If everybody's folding around you and you are able to pull in athletes and you're moving forward through the field, your capacity to endure the enjoyment that you get from the experience, even though it's very difficult, is going to be up. You're going to get the best out of yourself as opposed to struggling and not feeling great. And so with that in mind, the starting point is progressive pacing. And the simplest way to look at progressive pacing is to say to yourself, okay, what's my average going to be for this duration? What do I think I can average for the duration? Let's come back to that kind of like 140 effort. We're just going to pull that number out of the air. And if it's 140 beats for whatever my race duration is, I want to go 10 under that for the swim. So how easy am I going to have to swim to be 10 under that average? And then I'm going to ride. I want to average that heart rate on the bike. And I can do my training, and that's validated by my longest days and my longest rides. I've gotten off the bike and I felt like I'd be able to get through the run. And now I want to be above that, and I want to average above that for the entire run. And if we're using this 140 line, we're going to try and average 150. But what 150 average means, particularly for an Ironman, is it means that early part of the race, that first third, you're going to need to be under that. It's going to need to feel very comfortable. It's going to be in that 140 to 145 range. And then as you move in to the heart of the run, you're going to be on the average, and you have to leave headroom so that when it gets difficult in that final 90 minutes of the run, you've got capacity to lift above the average. So the highest heart rate of the day, and this is for whatever distance you're racing, needs to be in that second half, ideally that final third of the run. So you're really able to have your best running there. The other consideration is a well-paced race. If you follow this strategy, this optimal strategy, if we're thinking about the physics of triathlon, in the swim and in the bike, you will be left with the feeling, oh, I could have swum so much faster. I could have ridden so much faster. That's true. But if you think about your run, you will have the sensation, wow, that run was really about the best I could have done on the day. That means your pacing across the entire distance and the entire duration was spot on. Now, there's additional stuff that we can consider based on terrain and the nature of the event, as well as the dynamics within it. But this is a very important concept for you to bear in mind when you're putting your strategy together. The other thing is, our minds are not designed to consider how we're going to feel in the future, 3 hours in the future, 5 hours in the future, 8 hours in the future, particularly if we feel like we're in a survival situation. And let me tell you, standing on the start line, surrounded by a bunch of nervous people about to go into the water, our brain doesn't know it's just a race. It's going to be feeling like this is a survival situation. And you'll see your heart rate's going to be way up, and you're just going to be standing there because you're fired up. You're in that full fight or flight mode, and you're ready to go. So to be able to hold back on that swim, you're going to need to train that. You're going to have to train it in stressful situations, and you're going to need to learn how to really hold back if you want to get that run that you've earned in your training. So thanks for listening. It's an important concept about how to beat faster athletes. Hope you enjoyed it.